Very good morning, everybody. I must say, I think Zweli was the first one in the room. Zweli was like waiting to get into this room. As you come in, good morning. Say hello in the chat. Those that have been in a few of these webinars with us will know how, the typical protocol that we run with. So as you come in, say hello in the chat. Tell us where you are perhaps dialing in from. I'm currently sitting here in a very, very warm Pretoria for a change. Looks like the rain is going to hold off for a bit. We might get some later on in the day, but let's see how that goes. But so I'm curious to find out where everybody is. There you go. Sonette is in Bloemfontein. We've got people in Lydenburg as well. And my colleague, Karen Martin, is also on the call. So Karen will be nudging me as this webinar goes on in case I forget stuff. So apparently she will be a very, very good help. So good morning. Very beautiful morning, as I said, from live here from Pretoria. Say hello in the chat and tell us your name, where you're dialing from, and even your company. We're really looking forward to spending the next hour with you. I'm sure automating IFRS 9 has brought a lot of you to this table today. Who doesn't want that, right? And we get to find out how Ultrix sped up 17 major banks and one insurer. So sounds like some really, really cool stuff. So still giving it a few more minutes for the other panelists to, the other attendees to come on call. And thank you all for coming in nice and early and getting us, keeping us honest with the time there. So thanks, Maggie. Good morning. We are fine. Thanks. Hi, Friki. Hi, Fadzai. Hi, Johanna. Thank you, everybody, for coming onto this call. So automating your IFRS 9 processes will save you reporting time and give you access to information when you need it, right? So that's a quick trip, access to information as you need it. And as you all know, having spent, finance people deal with a lot of data these days, and data is king. And we want to automate a lot of our processes. So you've definitely come to the right place. I'll share my screen quickly for you, everybody, just to make sure that you have come through to the right webinar. There you go. That is where we are today. Is the automating IFRS 9. So let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. Did you guys, I think I lost you guys for a second. Let me know if you can hear me, put it in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. It'll be useful. If you can hear me, please let me know. Okay, sound is clear. We can hear you. Sound is clear. We can hear you. Okay, good. Good. I just wanted to check. It went a bit blurred on my side for a second. I don't know what was going on there. But if you have come to today's webinar, which is the Altrix and automating IFRS 9, then you're definitely in the right place. If you've just stumbled on an early morning webinar that's happening, please stick around. I've got some fantastic ladies that have got experience on automating their processes in IFRS 9 specifically. So you will have a lot of insights today. So thank you for that, and looking forward to how this session goes. So probably at around about 5 past the hour, I would like to kick things off. I see a lot of people have now jumped on. We've got over 40 of you in. Hello to Maggie. Maggie says she can hear me. Thank you. Lorraine is clear. Krista sounds. Annette, thank you. Thank you very much. So it's not every day that you get an opportunity to integrate and chat with some top leaders in the technology and in the corporate space. So if you can, please, you're welcome to ask any questions, utilize the chat function. You've already tested it by saying hello. So you can put in your questions in there by selecting hosts and panelists so that myself, my esteemed guests, and the other attendees can also see it. So you select the everyone button as well for your questions if you want to open to everybody else to integrate and see it. Okay, awesome. We are just at 5 past, and Dimago recently implemented IFRS 9 automation solution using Ultrix at 17 major banks. I bet you didn't know that, and a massive insurer across Africa. So this implementation delivered on the analytics promise, right? And you've heard about the analytics promise, and this is what you're here to find out. So I'm super, super excited. The teams are now self-reliant and easily produce the IFRS 9 reports as often as needed. Finance people, I know the spreadsheet is never far away, but we will get to that bit. I want to interrogate that a little bit more with you as we go on. So in this interactive session, you'll hear from Prenessa Govender, who's Dimago sales engineer. She will give us insights on how Dimago and Altrix have simplified this IFRS 9 reporting processes for financial services clients, so specifically for you guys that are on this call. You'll also hear from Vanessa Mangyani. She's a senior consultant at Dimago, and we will join her further to unpack some of the points around the technical bits of IFRS 9 and its implementation. But most importantly, you will hear from Ilze Prinsloo, who is a corporate financial manager at IEMAS, and she will share some information about how the successful implementation worked of the Altrix models at her organization. So really excited to have these 3 wonderful ladies with me. And without further ado, let me start with Prenessa and say, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How
Good morning, Brian. Well, in yourself?
Awesome, awesome. I will go to Vanessa. How are you doing today?
Good morning, everyone. I'm well, thank you. How are you, Brian?
Very well, thank you. Ilze Prinsloo, IEMAS, how's it going?
Morning, everybody. Yeah, it's going very well. And with you, Brian?
Thank you very much. So we're really all looking forward to this rich conversation. You can see we're almost 50 strong in the room already. But before I get to you, I wanted to get a sense of the type of audience that I have today. So I'm going to kick off with just a quick test of my audience, and I'm going to give them a quick. I want to ask them 2 questions quickly as we kick off. So please participate. 2 very simple questions. I'm going to launch them now. They probably should be showing up on your screen. Please participate. We can see if we can hit the 50% completion mark. That'll be great. 2 simple questions. How dependent is your business on Excel? Told you I'd ask you that question. Let's hear. Truth. Close to 100%. Somebody just went in straight. I was like, there's no questions about this. We are 100% Excel. We'll unpack that. Prenessa will tell us a bit more why you need to move on. That was the first question. The second question, just as simple, how dependent is your department on IT or third parties to provide data analytics? How dependent are you on third parties? Specifically, perhaps your IT department, or even just your department on IT itself, right? How dependent are you on third party to provide analytics? 2 simple questions to get us on the road. I just want to dissect the audience and see where we are. We've got 16 people that are 100% reliant on Excel. So I can guarantee you that these people have come to the right webinar. And approximately about 40% of us and rising are about 50% there. So they're on the journey to exit. Perhaps it's those people that keep both the technology and the spreadsheet going at the same time. I know I do that. Okay, we've got a 70% completion rate. Thank you very much. So first question, I'm going to share the results quickly so my esteemed guests can have a look at it and see what the results look like. I'm sure they're curious to find out. Let's see, there's 1 more person still doing the poll. Okay, I'm going to end poll, share results, and you'll have a quick look at the results. Okay, there we go. I'm going to start with Prenessa. How dependent is your business on Excel? Prenessa, I'm sitting on like over 55% of our audience here are dependent on Excel. Is that abnormal?
Yes, so it is normal. Most of our clients come into us that are fully reliant on Excel, and they see that they have problems with Excel. So if the Excel files are really large, it takes a long time to open and refresh. So they're struggling with that. And they come to us to move their processes from Excel onto Ultrix. So yes, it is shocking that a lot of people are still reliant on Excel, but it's not uncommon.
All right. Okay. Awesome. There you go. It's not uncommon. It doesn't feel too bad, guys. But sounds like don't worry, because help is on the way. So the second question was, how dependent is your department on IT or third parties to provide data analytics? I'm going to go to Ilze quickly. Ilze, for this question, it's a bit mixed. Approximately 50% of our departments, and how are you doing as a business? And do these numbers kind of reflect where you stand?
Brian, I'm going to answer both questions. Well, first was on the Excel. I actually, as a finance person, I want to say, if you're in finance and you answered you're not dependent on Excel, I think you're lying. That's bad, eh? But I can say from our side, every finance reconciliation, everything is on Excel. And to come to your question on IT, I find that, and especially if you're in finance, you are dependent on IT to get data analytics out. And the problem is, because it's not sales and it's a service division, you tend to be not first in line for new product developments. So yeah, dependent on IT, but not always available.
Yeah, makes sense. So Vanessa, I want to come to you. I mean, you're the sort of the senior consultant at Dimago. What kind of stories are you hearing from the customers when they come in? What are they sharing with regards to either technology support or third-party analytics, or just, hey, we're tired of spreadsheets? What are they saying?
Yes. So it's not uncommon, like Prenessa said. We see a lot of the clients come in and they're heavily dependent on Excel to get them through the reporting process. And when it comes to third parties, it gets really terrifying at this point, especially when you're working with the FSPs and you're seeing that they're not able to produce their own reports. They have to either wait for internal IT or they have to wait for external consultants to come and give them their reports. And I imagine a lot of them are
I think your sound broke off for just a second, or it's just me. But I think your sound broke off. But Peter, it's fine. We kind of got, there's no sound, but that's fair enough. I mean, she'll come back on while we're sorting that out. We lost you for a bit there, Vanessa, with your sound, but that's fine. I think we got the crux of the matter.
Hello?
But now we want to get straight into the business of automating IFRS 9. But before we do that, I'm going to go to Prenessa quickly. And Prenessa, you can start us off and maybe tell us about Dimago. Let's start there.
Okay, so Dimago is one of Altrix's premier partners. We just actually won the Partner of the Year award in the Middle East and Africa regions. So we're very proud of that. As a quick intro, we're a data analytics business that's enthusiastic about helping people unleash the power of their data. We work a bit differently from your standard consulting firms in that we want to enable people, specifically within financial teams, to do analytics of their data by themselves through the use of self-service technologies. We enable our clients to use a platform called Ultrix, which helps them move from people that just produce reports and financial processes to advanced data analysts, adding value through insights to their business. We hear all the time of financial teams trying to automate their processes using technologies like Excel and RPA, SQL, and even Python. But these tools can sometimes become too technical and cumbersome for the financial teams to manage it themselves. So they would generally elicit help from their IT department, which is not always available and very time consuming. And it takes a lot of time for them to get their results back. Whereas with Altrix, financial teams can perform the analytics themselves with a little bit of upskilling. By rule of thumb, if you can perform a pivot in Excel, which I'm sure most of the people on the call can see that 55% of them are reliant on Excel, you would easily adopt Ultrix.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. And you talk about adapting Ultrix and pivot tables. This is why finance people are on this call. Okay, so you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned Ultrix as being a platform. Okay, let's go into a little bit about the Ultrix itself. What is it? It's a platform, and so what? Tell us a bit more.
Yeah, so Altrix are basically the leaders in the process automation movement. They have a platform that can discover, that can prepare, analyze, and even share your analytics at scale. So Altrix is mainly used for data management and data heavy or complex process automation. We also use Altrix for advanced analytics and even machine learning. So Altrix is basically a workflow-based application. So what that means is that you would use building blocks and tools, and you would drag it onto a canvas. And once you connect these tools together, it would create a workflow. Once this workflow is built, it's repeatable. You wouldn't need to create it again. So all you would need to then do is take that existing workflow, point it to a new source and a new output location, and you just hit a button and it will execute and your process will run automatically and you'll get your results in a fraction of the time. So this specific features of Ultrix is what makes it perfect for automating complex processes such as your IFRS 9 process.
Yeah, I mean, the moment you say hit the button, you know, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I need. You know, you want things that you can just hit one button and, you know, that canvas comes totally to life. Okay, so we said we will beat up and talk about Ultrix itself and how it links up to perhaps the IFRS 9 kind of process reporting. So I'll stay with you for a bit. You know, I don't want to let Vanessa and Ilze get cold, but let me stay with you just for one more point. What do you, so in terms of uses, right? Like just, you know, highlight just top 3 uses of Ultrix.
Of Ultrix. So like I said, Ultrix can be used for IFRS 9 processes, but it's not limited to that. Any process that you have within Excel, you can automate it using Ultrix. So we can completely remove the process from Excel and move it onto Ultrix. So our recent project, we recently created a machine learning model for one of our clients. So it can be used for machine learning. Most of the time, our clients come to us because they want to clean up their data in the ERP system. It's too messy. So they can pull it into Ultrix, they can do their data cleaning and their data preparation, and then they can push it back into the ERP system. Yeah, so Ultrix can basically be used for anything.
Yeah,
it
I
puts
like that.
all
I
of
mean,
your analytics needs. Yes.
So you're talking analytics needs, data management, you know, machine learning. I mean, that's awesome. That's like one tool that can, you know, combine all these elements. Vanessa, if you can put on your camera, I'm going to come to you just quickly because we're talking about Ultrix and IFRS 9. But, you know, what is IFRS 9? Let's start there before we make the connection.
I'm actually
I don't know if you can hear us, Vanessa. If you're speaking, we can't hear you, or maybe it's just me, but I definitely cannot hear you at all, Vanessa. So
can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Here we go. You're back. Let's go. We just tell us a bit about IFRS 9, you know, short and sharp.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so for National Financial Reporting Standards, and it covers the full sets of principles and rules on the accounting treatment of financial instruments. IFRS 9 specifically in this case focuses on how an entity should classify, measure, and recognize financial assets and financial liabilities, specifically focusing on the FSP industry. So the standard came into effect for annual periods beginning on the 1st of January 2018. And the industry has faced a lot of challenges with implementing the standard as well as reporting the standard. Some of the challenges, though, have been addressed, especially for the large entities. As institutions are often faced with various challenges. So if it's not expensive IFRS 9 solutions, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So I was just checking with the audience whether they can. But I think the sound keeps breaking up on your end, Vanessa. So we'll come to you. Well, perhaps to sort that out, I'll just go to Prenessa quickly, and perhaps Prenessa can talk to us about IFRS 9 processes at the 17 banks, right? Because that was the cue, right? When we started this webinar. Tell us about that story.
Okay, so one of our biggest projects so far related to IFRS 9 automation was at the Ethiopian Banking Association, where we helped automate 17 of their bank's processes. So the banks initially had their model built in Excel with the assistance of a third party. But due to the size of the models, the workbook would sometimes take up to 10 minutes to open and refresh, which is a problem. I'm sure Excel users would understand the pain of that. There were also issues with updating the data within the Excel model. So the banks became very reliant on their third party to produce their reports and their results for their submission. Some of the banks also faced issues where unintentional changes were made to the calculations within the workbook, which then skewed their results and compromised their data integrity. And majority of the time, these changes would go unnoticed until the results were queried by an external auditor. Excel also posed a challenge with the number of records they could include within their model. So now the banks then needed to get another platform to now manipulate their data and reduce the number of records they would then push into the Excel model, which became a problem for them. All of these above issues was resolved when they moved over to Ultrix. So I said quite a bit, but to summarize everything, the banks wanted to become self-reliant. They wanted to produce the IFRS 9 report themselves, and they also wanted to discontinue the use of their third party because it was becoming very costly. They were also looking for a faster and easier tool to use that was cost-effective and accurate and auditable. The banks also wanted to run their models biannually as compared to once a year with their third party. And by moving the IFRS 9 model from Excel to Ultrix, they were able to do all of this. Not only that, they were now with a bit of upskilling, and now that they know how to use the tool, they can now use the license to automate any other business process that they have. So it's not limited to them only automating their IFRS 9 process. They can go ahead and automate any other business process going forward.
Okay, sounds like a pretty cool. Let's put it to the test. And I'm going to go to Ilze quickly. I don't want to get you cold, Ilze. You've been holding on. We're getting deep into the technical bits conversation, but I want to hear from you. And perhaps let's start with, just tell us about your business. Tell us about IEMAS and what you do.
Thanks, Brian. So IEMAS is South Africa's largest financial cooperative. So that's not something you hear every day. So we're a cooperative, and we've got, we do financing and got an insurance business as well, but predominantly financing. And we've got a loan book of just below 6 billion Rand. So I'm the corporate financial manager there. And even though it's quite a large loan book, we've got a very medium-sized finance department. So of which I'm responsible for the IFRS 9 calculation. And I must say, I mean, I heard Prenessa now say this for the first time. All the pain points she actually mentioned was part of my problem with IFRS 9. Firstly, we implemented, like I said, medium-sized entity, so you can't get too much outside help. So we started on Excel, which is fine. I'm a big fan of Excel. Never stopped doing it. But the problem is that these data sheets become so big. And you now need to, as you progress in your calculation, you want to understand it better. You want to go into granular detail. And we also got to a point where, again, I mean, I was left how many times hanging with Excel, because again, these Excel sheets, you open them and they take 10 or 20 minutes to refresh, and then they go corrupt. That also happens. And because they're so large, you've got so many of them. And every year when you go through this calculation, you need to copy all your formulas, remember what you did last time, to ensure consistency. And as much as I want to say, you know, it doesn't happen, but it does pose the risk of human error. Even though you're using formulas, it still needs to be copied every year. So then we went on the venture to try and automate this. And the same thing, we went out on received a number of proposals, but the key points for us were the fact that you can only do IFRS 9 with all those proposals. You will have every year, I mean, business change, everybody on the call knows. What was true this year is not necessarily next year. Business evolves. So every year you will have to get that same consultant, whoever you choose, to come and update your model, to come and calibrate it. And that is additional cost relating to it. And for me, personally, the problem is you can't see what's happening in the background. And that's probably the thing that I like the most about Ultrix, because I can exactly see the formulas that are applied. I can see that they're done consistently. It's really taking something that's complex and simplifying it and doing it quickly. I mean, it took me about 40 hours just to do all these spreadsheets and combine them, which now, as I like the press of a button, that is pretty much how it is. I can confirm that is it runs, and 3 hours later, I've got numbers. So yeah, I can really, as a client, I can say that what Vanessa just said is true for me completely.
Yeah, and speaking of pressing a button, in fact, I'm going to press a button pretty soon because I want to ask the audience some more questions. But look at this. So Simon in the audience is already well ahead of us. He says, Prenessa, demonstrate this system, how it works. You know, they're well ahead of us. So this is what you call an attentive audience. So thank you very much. But so hold tight. Keep your seatbelts on, Simon. We'll get to that piece. Before we do, I have another poll. I am going to hit a button and let's test. Ilze, you said a pretty interesting thing. So let me see what it looks like from the audience perspective, right? Let's talk specifically. Question 1, is your specific IFRS 9 process automated? Simple. It's either it is or it's not. Apparently there's a partially to it, but let's see. It could be partially implemented. So that's question 1. Second question is how many hours? So Ilze already spoke about the number of hours she's doing. So I'm curious to hear whether that's above or below the threshold that we're expecting with the group that we have today. So how many hours does it take you to produce your IFRS 9 reports monthly? How long is it taking you? Wow, so this is actually very, very interesting. And Vanessa, I'll share, you know, what I'm seeing now, because I'm pretty sure you can't see it yet, but we're already sitting at about over 70% of our people on here saying that they do not have an automated IFRS 9 process. No, it's not automated. It's purely old school. It's purely Ilze Prinsloo's pain points that she's been having like 24 months ago. They are living with them. So you must be proud, Ilze.
Exactly.
The second question, how many hours are you spending doing it? Let me see. So the bulk of our, you know, we kind of split, you know, it takes about a day's work for some people, but also a day's work could be 8 hours, but also a day could be the whole 24 hours, right? So that's where the split is sitting. So 50% of us have completed. If we can, please, let's see if we can push it to, we did 70% on our last poll. If you can participate, please do. It would be good to kind of get some insights, and that'll allow us to ask some very, you know, pointed questions to the audience that have been on this journey. If we get to really know the mix and the split of your experiences around this section. So if you can, please answer. We're sitting at just 52% at the minute. I'd like to get it, let's get it to 60 if we can. So I just need perhaps another 6 more people to complete it. So it'll be absolutely useful for us as we get into the next piece of our conversation. So 2 simple questions. Are you automated? Yes or no? The IFRS 9 process specifically, is that automated? Yes or no? And second question, how long is it taking you? How long is it taking you to produce your report on a monthly basis? 2 fairly simple questions. Great if you can participate so we can start moving along to the next piece. Okay, going once. Okay, officially gone. Okay, I've ended the poll, and so yeah, so Prenessa, you can see this now though. I mean, we're talking over 80% of people that do not have, so you've got a lot of work to do, Prenessa.
Yes, we do. Yeah, that's quite a bit of people that don't have their processes automated. And like Ilze mentioned, it's going to save you all a whole lot of time and resources to get that process automated.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Ilze, just to you, just on the poll questions. So in terms of hours, you did mention that it took you quite a while. You know,
slow learner, right?
Time was, where were you? How long was it taking you?
No, now it's currently, I mean, and then I run it back to front between 2 and 3 hours. And there's no very little human intervention involved. And I know it's going to be run consistently, the same time every time. What I also liked about the calculation is that you can check it along the way. You don't need to just check the result, and you don't know how, you know, everything is made up of little building blocks. So you don't just see the result and don't know where it comes from, because it's difficult to interpret it like that way. And with Ultrix, you can actually, like, little bit by bit, at every step, you can check, okay, this is the result now. This is what the PD calculation is. This is the result now if I add the discounting. This is the result in the next step. So now it's much quicker. And I come back to, again, I was also only able to run it because it takes so much human intervention and management, key management time. I could only run it once a year, okay, when the auditors come, which is, it tends to be sometimes a nasty surprise for all of us. And now I can do it more often. I can do it once a month. I mean, your poll was how many times do you do it monthly? I couldn't do it monthly, which is something I can do now.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. There was a little slide, third question, that I deliberately avoided because I think it will be linked to the responses on the question 1, right? If you're not automated, then you're potentially sitting with Excel. And I just want to have a quick sound check while I'm on that from Vanessa. Vanessa, how's your sound doing?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if you guys can hear me clearly now.
Loud and clear now. We can hear you now, but just stay with me.
Good.
Stay with me stay with me for a moment, if you can. You saw in the chat there was a request to prep for demo. So I was wondering in the background whether you can start getting ready for that as we kind of wrap up for just the poll question. But I want to perhaps, Prenessa, go to you on this on the tools question.
Well, first.
On the tools question, you'll see we're sitting at 89% of people were saying that they're on spreadsheet, SQL, and people are not on Altrix, right? So there's a bit of a beef that we need to talk about here, Vanessa. Let us know when you're ready.
So I think, like, in terms of the demo, Prenessa will start to introduce the software first, and then I'll just demonstrate the IFRS 9 workflow that we developed. Okay,
awesome. Okay, good. Yeah. So, Prenessa, there was a call from, I think it was Simon DeCarlo Manduana. So he wanted to see a demo. So this is it. Is it the right place? Let's have a look at what you have.
Okay, I just want to share my screen.
Okay, let me. Okay, you should be good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, please let me know when you can see it.
Good on my side.
Just want to move this out of the way. Okay, perfect. So this is what the Ultrix software looks like. Is it possible for me to minimize this here? Okay. Yes, can you still see my screen?
No, we lost your screen, so perhaps you might want to start that again.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's up. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So this is what the Ultrix software looks like. It's called the Ultrix Designer. So this white area here is called your canvas. This is where you would actually build your model by dragging tools from your toolbar onto the canvas to create your workflow. Your toolbar sits at the top here. Apologies for this Zoom panel up here. I'm not sure how to minimize that. But our toolbar sits at the top here. You can see that the first section here is your favorite section. So this panel is customized for my needs. So this is the tool that I use most often when I build out workflows on my project. But you can customize this to fit the tools that you use most often. You'd also see that there's a recommended section here. So what Ultrix does is it looks at your canvas and the tool that you clicked on within your canvas, and it recommends another tool that you can connect to that. So seeing that I don't have any tools on my canvas right now, Altrix is recommending that I bring in data into the workflow, either using a text input tool or using a data input tool. So I just clicked on the data input tool and I brought it onto the canvas. You'll notice that the configuration window on your left-hand side updated. So within your configuration window, you would set the parameters for each of your tool. And the tool parameters differ depending on your tool because each tool needs a new set of parameters. So you'll see that this window would keep updating as we move along. So right now, Altrix is asking me to connect a file or a database. So I'm just going to hit this drop-down button here, and it takes me to all of these data connections. So these are just my recent connections and my saved connections. But then we also have a file section, and it shows you all of the files types that Ultrix supports. So here you can see we have Excel, then we have SAS tables. There's just a huge list of tables that you can connect to. We also have data sources. So if I click here, you would see all of the data sources that you can connect Ultrix to. So we have, you can connect to a MongoDB, you can connect to SQL, Oracle, SAP, Salesforce. Any source or ERP system that you use, you can connect to it using Ultrix. We also have a gallery option. So right now, I do not have any gallery connections, but if your organization has a private gallery that you'll have sources on, you can connect Ultrix directly to that. I'm going to go back to the files and I'm just going to click on Excel and I'm going to bring in this locally saved order details file. I just want to bring this in so you could see what it looks like when I actually bring data into Ultrix. You can see here the configuration window updated, and there's just options for which I can use to input the data. I'm going to leave that as the default for now. You'll also be able to see a preview of your data set. So here you can just see the first 100 records of my table. For the purposes of this demo, this file is very clean, but Ultrix has the capabilities to handle really messy data, and it could help you clean up that data set. So a lot of people use this to clean up their data as well, use this tool to clean up their data. Okay, now that I have the data input tool in place, you'd see that the recommended section updated. So now Ultrix is recommending a new set of tools that I could use. You don't have to select a tool from this recommended section. You can go into the other sections and pick the tool that you want, but more often than not, the tool that you need would sit under the recommended section. So what I generally like to do is I drag in a select tool. The select tool allows me to get rid of all of the columns that I do not need. So for instance, here, I do not use store number in my analysis, so I can just get rid of that field. It also helps increase the runtime, so your workflow would run much faster as well. You can go ahead and rename a field if you want to using the select tool. So this is called customer ID. I can call it custom. And then you can also reorder your fields within your table. To see the manipulations that I just did, I'm going to have to hit the run button. So when I say a click of a button, I just mean hit the run and your workflow executes. So this is a very short workflow, so it executed almost immediately. You'd see that each tool has an input anchor and an output anchor. The input anchor shows me how the data looks. If you see the results window, this is how, you see the results window, this is how the data looked prior to the select tool being executed. And if I hit the output anchor, you can see what the results look after the select tool was executed. So here you can see the changes are made. Customer ID is now called cust number, and then the product ID is at the top of the table. And then you also don't see store number within the result. So this is what Ilze was trying to tell you when she said that you can track the changes being made at every single step. So this is just a great way for you to see what has been happening to your data. An important thing to note here is that Ultrix does not alter the data within your source. In our case, our source is a locally saved order details file. So Ultrix would not go into that file and manipulate the data at all. The changes that you are seeing sits within Ultrix, and then you can just export these changes into a system that you choose. When I say export, I mean use an output data tool. I can just connect it to my workflow. And again, you'd see the configuration window updated. If I click this here, it gives me the same options that you saw for the data input tool, meaning that I can now export my data in any of these formats. Okay. A cool thing about Altrix as well is that there's no limitation to the number of data inputs and outputs that you can have within a specific workflow. So if I wanted to connect 10 tables from 10 different data sources and join and prep and blend that data together, I can do so. And I can even export it into as many formats and as many outputs as I want as well. Okay. So we chatted a bit about the output and input of Ultrix. There's also other tools that you could choose from, which is your data preparation. And these are all of the tools that you could use to clean your data. You can add in formulas, you can add in filters. So any formula that you would use in Excel can be done in Ultrix, but much faster because the tools are now pre-packaged for you. There's no need for you to do any coding. Like I mentioned before, Altrix has machine learning capabilities. At the top here, you can see we have machine learning tools. There's text mining tools, computer vision. You can do anything with Altrix, and it's all code-free as compared to using SAS or SQL, where you would have to code these models. For those of you who actually like to code, you can go into the back end of the tools and manipulate the code to fit your business requirements. But if you do not like coding, it's not necessary at all. The tools are pre-built for you. We also have, let's see if I can just move this out. Yes, okay, perfect. We also have a search bar. So the search bar can be used to search for certain tools. Altrix has over 250 tools, and sometimes it can be quite daunting to go into this list and then look for the tool that you're looking for. So Altrix has been very practical in its naming convention of each tool. So the name is as per its function. So say, for instance, you want to add in a formula. You can just type in formula in the search bar. Formula in the search bar, and all of the formula tools will appear in this list here. And then you can just drag the formula from the search bar and place it onto the canvas and connect it to your workflow. You would also notice that there's a help section. So under the help section, you would find all of the articles released by Ultrix related to that specific keyword that you typed there. So here, like for instance, the first article is a formula tool. So if I click on it, it takes me onto the browser. And here you can learn more about how to use this specific formula tool. We also have our Ultrix community. So the community is basically Ultrix's forum. Users of Ultrix can go onto the community and they can post questions that they have about the software. Or let's say, for instance, you're struggling with implementing a piece of logic within your workflow. You can go onto the community and ask the questions, and other people would answer them for you. And the great thing about Ultrix, it's so widely used that anything that you want to implement has been probably done before. So if you go into the community, you most likely would find your solution. Like just recently, I needed to do a matrix multiplication and I couldn't find that tool within the tool palette. So I went into the community and I typed in matrix multiplication, and one of the users created this tool and they uploaded it for everyone to use. So similar to other users that are creating tools, you yourself can create a tool that fits your business needs. So say, for instance, you have a macro that fits exactly what business processes you do. You can now go and create that tool, package it, and put it onto your toolbar so that it can be reused going forward. Altrix also has 24-hour support. So it's actually 24 hours, 7 days a week support. So should you be struggling with anything related to the software, you can reach out to Altrix and they would support you on that problem. Thank you. So Vanessa will actually take you through a more in-depth example, specifically related to the IFRS 9 automation that we recently did.
Awesome, thank you. So while Vanessa, you're getting yourself set up for that, just a quick question, point I wanted to address, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I know things come up to mind while people are speaking, so please throw them in there so we can pull them out, and perhaps after Vanessa is done, we can have a quick Q&A session. But if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we can address them. There's a question I think that came earlier, and it might have to do with some of the stuff that you were talking about, Prenessa. Just to give Vanessa a few moments. Vanessa, if you wanted to share your screen, you can start as well.
Okay.
Prenessa, it says, can I also use, and I think, it came from David. He was asking, can I also use Ultrix platform for financial modeling?
Yes.
So while Vanessa gets herself sorted.
Yes, definitely. You can use it for financial modeling. I'm not sure if we'll be able to ask him where his model currently sits, on what platform it currently sits. But yes, you can definitely use it for financial modeling.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Vanessa, over to you.
Yes, I'm here, Brian. Thank you, everyone, for being patient with me. I know my network has been doing a lot today. So as Prenessa just showed you, this is what Ultrix looks like. And so a few things that you should note, this is just a demo. So this is an oversimplified version of what we built for Ilze. And it also uses dummy data. So you probably won't be able to get any type of insight out of this when I run it. So one of the things that we do at Dimago when we build the workflow is we provide documentation. So this is very important when we're doing change management and we're sending the workflow back to the intended user. So we provide supporting documentation in whatever form is required, whether that's Excel or Word or a PDF document. We produce it and we send it to the client. And we also do workshops to sort of train people how to use this workflow, how to change data sets, how to do anything. That's if they weren't even involved in the build of the workflow. But Altrix also makes it very, very easy to do documentation inside the workflow, which is very important when someone who was not involved in the process opens this workflow and they're trying to get the results. So in here, I've used a comment tool, one of my favorite tools, to add additional information such as what does this workflow do, and also what is the running order. So to get this result, what do you do? To get that result, what do you do? And this is going to be very important because this workflow is very big. And also the data set that goes into this is also very big. So some of the concerns that we hear about from people are RAM or computing power. So most of the time people use Ultrix on their desktop. So it's not usually hosted on an internal server or on a cloud platform. It's usually hosted on the desktop, and you can configure each workflow to use a certain amount of RAM or to use less RAM or whatever the situation may be. In my case, I set it to around 32 gigs of RAM for this workflow because the real workflow actually uses a ridiculous amount of data to get to the results that Ilze needs. So The tools themselves can also be annotated. So when someone looks at this workflow, if they're wondering, well, what do all these things do? All they have to see is the annotation provided on each tool. So Altrix gives you space. So you have the place where you can configure the tool, but you can also add some additional documentation to say, to explain what the tool is doing. It tells you what type of tool it is, the name of the tool, and then the annotation required. So when you're looking at this, you know that this tool will derive the days past due. And then this tool is going to derive the month and book, and so on and so on. So all the tools are annotated. This is to further help you help the clients to not have that dependency and say, we need Dimago to come and run this workflow because we don't know what we're doing. It's actually pretty straightforward, and generally anyone can pick it up. Just reading the documentation that we've that we put in here, and we're also available post the project to support you guys. So if you have questions about the workflow, we are always ready and willing to assist you at whatever stage you're at. So what's interesting about this particular workflow is the method that IFSA wanted to go with. So you have to use statistical methodologies to incorporate the forward-looking information. And the method that ILSA chose to use is machine learning. And if you've ever heard of any machine learning initiative, you know it is time-consuming. And so here we stage the data to push into the model, and we push it into the machine learning tools. So I think Prenessa already showed you guys, this is the machine learning tabs, but this is auto ML tools. So this is a separate license. These tools are part of what we call the intelligence suite, and it helps the layman, the ordinary user to just incorporate predictive and machine learning processes into their currently existing process. So perhaps maybe you're trying to figure out your sales process and you have some data and you'd like to predict what factors affect sales, or how much sales you can expect over the period using actual statistical methods. You can use assisted modeling, which produces auto ML. And so once you run your assisted modeling tool, it's going to produce all these other tools. So you're seeing two levels of tools. So this is one type of machine learning model. This is a decision tree. And this one is a random forest. And again, you can see the tools are automatically annotated. And honestly, there's no supervision on my part. I didn't have to do any feature engineering. You can choose to automate the entire process. So you can use the auto ML tools to automate the entire machine learning process. Or if you know and you have some type of statistical modeling background, you can automate some parts of it, and that will in turn save you time, and it will also make it more clear to you as the model builds out what is happening at each stage of the process. So in this, for the client, we only use the intelligence suite just up to this point. So this is to select features and to do feature engineering, because this process was going to be audited, right? And so we need to remove the black box. And this is very much a black box. You can't really see the number of trees. You can't see how the trees were configured because Ultrix did it all for you. So we had to end up using, where are those tools? So then Altrix comes with standard tools. So these are our tools. There's also Python versions of these tools, which also do the same thing, but this is manual. You're gonna have to build out the entire value chain, the entire model by hand to get the result that you need. And that's what we did in order to submit this process to the auditors. So we built this out and we pushed the results into an Excel file because that was the ask. And once we got the results here, so this is the part where we are getting the 12-month PD. So the probability that a contract was gonna default in the next 12 months. So once we got those results, the most important, or some of the important parts, you can see we basically created this workflow to be modular. So what I mean is that each calculation has its own box, has its own space. So if, say, for example, you're happy with the model and you just want to extract the exposure at default, or you just want to extract the LGD, the results of the LGD calculation, and you're not necessarily interested in the lifetime PD calculation, you can now disable this box. Which means when you click run, it's not gonna execute. And I'm gonna do the same thing for this part. Because not every single time after you've built your model, so you have your model, you have your results, you don't need this part anymore. You just need to feed the results into the different parts of the model. And all you have to do is click run. Let me also disable this part. And you click run, takes less than 2 seconds. I think with the original data sets, the largest data set, it took about, just to run this part alone, it takes less than 5 minutes to run with those millions of records. And we're expecting even more records this year when IEMAS gets more clients. And so you're getting your results, and all of the results are being pushed into these Excel files. And you're able to see, like Prenessa said, what is happening at each stage of the process. So you're not staying in the dark. If you're not sure how your LGD calculation is going or how it works, you can just peek into each of these tools and you're able to get those results at each stage of the process. And this again removes the key man dependencies that you would have, which is what we often see with our clients. They have someone come in and build them some type of model in Excel. The person leaves and someone is like, okay, so how do we use this Excel model? Well, in Ultrix, the answers are probably going to be in there already. So what's great about Ultrix is that not only does it allow you to output the results into your data source space, or your Microsoft SQL environment or your Azure environment or an Excel spreadsheet, it also allows you to push your results into Tableau or your Power BI or whatever platform that you'd like to use. So you have these connector tools that allows you to push the results of your analysis somewhere where you can see it and analyze it. What's also great is that, say, for example, you don't want to visualize it, but perhaps maybe you just want this whole process to run, right? And you want to build a report. Maybe you want to write a Word document or a PDF document, and you want Altrix to send that document somewhere else. Altrix allows you to build reports inside Altrix, so you can use the reporting tools. This also comes standard with the standard designer license, and you can build your reports and also configure it to email the results to someone. So the entire process becomes entirely automated. So in this case, we just used Power BI. So we pushed the results into Power BI, and we just built a basic dashboard so that you can monitor the results and see the key insights out of the entire analysis. So you just run Ultrix, and then it will automatically update these tables, and then you're able to get your visualizations, and you're able to build whatever visual analysis that you'd like to build out. What's interesting to note is that this is just an example for IFRS 9. One of our clients is actually involved in doing something else entirely. So these guys are automating their entire tax reporting process. So when I say the entire thing, I mean literally every single report that they have to submit for taxes. So this client of ours is based off in Peru, and their regulator keeps, or rather, all regulators keep pushing new regulations onto this industry, which is the mining industry. And so they decided that instead of spending so much time creating tax reports that they have to submit locally in Peru as well as at their head office in the UK, they'd rather automate the entire process. And these are not computer scientists or computer engineers or IT people automating this process. These are your head of finance, your finance managers, your assistants, your project managers, they are all jumping in, getting their hands dirty to automate the entire tax reporting process. We are also a part of the team, so we're part of a huge overarching project, assisting them with picking up whatever projects that they aren't able to build out right now. And it's been an incredibly exciting process, because it's going to be one of the first organizations in the world to actually automate their entire tax report, especially for an organization that is that size. So yeah, this is what we built.
Sounds like we need like a whole other session. I mean, a lot of really cool stuff happening with you, Vanessa. Thank you very much. And again, to Simon, you asked for a demo, you got the demo. A lot of questions are coming in through the chat, so thank you to the audience. I see a few more questions that's coming up. I'm just cautious of the time. We'll get those questions answered. We'll send them across to Prenessa or Vanessa or Ilze, whoever they're directed to, and perhaps we can get a response and they'll be able to share that with you. So I'm going to go to Prenessa quickly, just some closing remarks from you in less than a minute. The mute button is betraying you. There we go. And you're still on mute. Yeah. While we get that sorted, I'm going to go to Ilze. Ilze, some closing remarks from you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I just want to say, I must say, I was very skeptical when I started off with the process. But I mean, all of the people on the school, they're clever people. I must say, I was very impressed. So not only did I get an IFRS 9 solution, I almost sounds like a salesperson, but it's changed my life. So it's so easy to learn. I taught myself, I had very little training. The tools that Prenessa showed, the help tools are amazing. And it's really something that I recommend. I've now automated of my monthly reconciliations, about 15 reconciliations, okay, over and above just the IFRS 9. It saves me 20 hours in my month-end process, and senior hours that is now done literally by press of a button. So now I must say, and I'm having fun doing it. So that's something nice. It was good to chat to you guys.
That is absolutely awesome. 20 hours, guys. That's about 2.5 days. 2.5 days that you're getting back. Maybe it's time to get that holiday. Prenessa, how's your sound as we close off? Vanessa, you good for closing remarks?
Yes, I'm still here. Just so you know, we offer support post the project build, but Ultrix is also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to support you in any type of issue that you have. This tool is meant to sit on top of your existing ERP layer, so it needs to work with your existing infrastructure. So if there's any issues when you have this software, will be there. Altrix will also be involved in helping you resolve any type of caches that you might experience.
Fantastic. So while it's saving you 20 hours, it's actually doing the work for 24 hours. Thank you very much. Prenessa, are you good?
Yes, yes, my sound is back.
Closing remarks.
Yes, so like Ilze mentioned, a lot of our clients say the same thing. At first, it was very daunting, but once they know how to use the tool, it becomes very fun to use, and especially when it's saving you time. And Vanessa also mentioned that we do offer support for our existing clients, and it's continuous support even after implementation.
Absolutely, absolutely fantastic. I want to thank you all. I want to thank the audience for your fantastic questions. If we haven't had an opportunity to answer any specific questions, please don't be hard done by. You know, time often flies as we go through some of these things. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And that was it. The case study, automating IFRS 9, save you reporting time. Remember, up to 20 hours, as some people have already experienced. So perhaps next time it could be you. So that is our webinar. Thank you for coming on. Next up, what we have coming, we've got another webinar that's happening next week. Let's talk about your travel, your bumper business travel of the year. Guess what? That industry is open again. So some cool things are happening. Let's find out how you can travel, make money while you're traveling, how CFOs can plan, budget under uncertain times. And then we'll go on the 22nd, the magical financial storytelling. Let's hear how we are being progressive after all the things that we've learned in the last 48 months or so after this pandemic. We're getting back on our feet, focusing on a year of excellence, how finance leaders can turn data into compelling narratives. And that's it from me. I wish you all a fantastic afternoon. Good day.
Good day.
Thank you.
Bye.